Hi, everyone. We just opened up the room for people to come in. We're gonna give it about a minute or so, just to let everyone trickle in and get situated before we get started. But thanks for joining us this afternoon. Alrighty. We're gonna give it a couple more seconds here, let folks come on in. All right. For the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. I know that it's probably morning, night, evening, afternoon for someone somewhere. So thank you for making time to join us today. We're so glad that you're here for our Living at Duke Part 1 webinar of our summer transition series. This is also our first webinar this summer, so double excitement. My name is Yana Mitzos. I'm the Assistant Director of New Student and Family Programs at Duke University, and we are so excited that you've taken some time out of your day today to join us. So, since there haven't been any previous webinars yet, some kind of expectations, ground rules, what to expect today. We host these weekly webinars throughout the summer to get important information directly from our campus experts in front of y'all. So these webinars are going to be recorded. You can go to our YouTube page or our NSFP website to review past webinars. They're typically posted within a few days, maybe a week at most. And um, yeah, they're available to watch at any given time. But a great feature of today's webinar is the Q&A feature. So some responses will be, typed out, responded to in the moment, and we might hold on to some of the questions to answer them live. That being said, the chat has been disabled for this purpose. That way, um, us as speakers, presenters are able to focus on the Q&A. And again, just another heads up that this webinar is being recorded today. So we've invited some colleagues from Duke Dining and Housing Res Life teams to answer y'all's questions and share some really great information. So without further ado, I'm gonna pass it on over to Krista and she'll get us started.
Awesome. Thank you, Yana. I appreciate that. We are going to, um, I'm going to get my presentation set up here and then I will talk because apparently I can't do both at the exact same time. All right, everyone. Hello. My name is Krista Jade. I'm the Associate Director in Housing Assignments, and I'm really excited to chat with all of you and welcome Class of 2030 to Duke and Living and Learning at Duke specifically. So we have been preparing for your arrival for months already, and many of you have already applied for housing, so that's great. You'll know some of what I'm talking about already. But if you haven't applied for housing yet, that's okay too. You still have time, and we'll talk all about that. But I truly am so excited to be able to welcome you personally to Duke, to have you living with us, and to help you learn what to expect from a housing experience in your time here at Duke. So first, as I'm sure many of you have already heard, we have a QuadX housing model here at Duke, and that provides an inclusive living and learning experience. that is really built upon history and values and traditions that we are building, that we have and are continuing to build here within the Duke community. It really is the goal of QuadX is to deliver transformative experience that are enhanced both in the social, residential, and intellectual pieces of all undergraduate students. And the way that we do this is through a lot of programming, a lot of building of community, but one really unique way that we do this at Duke is through the structure of your living experience while you are on campus with us. So you will start out, all of our first years will live on East Campus. So we have a campus dedicated to the first year experience. And so you will be assigned to live in one of the buildings within one of the East Campus neighborhoods. And then the moment you know where you're living on East Campus, which you will learn later in June, you will learn then what your quad connection is. And that is your community continuing to thrive and grow and build on West Campus in a specific quad. So you will know where you'll be able to live your sophomore year and junior year, and even senior year if you choose to live on campus with us, the moment you receive your East Campus assignment. And so it's really a great, awesome way to help build that community and maintain that community your entire time here at Duke. So you'll live on East Campus, and then a really exciting tradition that we have is at the conclusion of your first year on campus, before it fully ends, we have our Bricks to Stone ceremony, an event and party, and that's when you will kind of leave the bricks of East Campus and move to the stones of West Campus. And here you can see exactly what those quad connections are. So we have our neighborhoods, our sister buildings, like Elspaw Brown, for example. Everyone who's assigned to Elspaw Brown will then live in Kilgo on West Campus as they progress into their sophomore year. And then for your junior and senior year, you can live in your quad connection, and you can also live in our upper class community. So our suite style housing option in Hollows or our apartment complexes at over on the Swift Quad. So let's talk a little bit more detail now about the housing application process. So the application did open on May 1st, and you can access it via our housing portal. So we have already started emailing you at your Duke email address, asking you to apply for housing. If you've already applied, then you haven't really heard from us anymore because you've done what you've needed to. You've checked that first box for housing. The application does close on May 31st, so that gives you 30 full days to get that application in. And then we will release assignments for everyone who applies by May 31st on June 10th. So June 10th will be a big day, a really exciting day. That's when you will learn your specific housing assignment and who your roommate is via your Duke email. So all of our communication will go to your Duke email. So if you haven't logged in yet, or you haven't really been building it in part of your routine to be checking it, you should start now. Um, so all of our information, official correspondence will all go through your Duke email account. So these are the important dates. Apply by May 31st, and then you'll receive your assignment on June 10th. Um, and the housing, I'm sorry, I'm going to go back really quickly. For the housing application itself, you can submit it as many times as you want, all the way up until May 31st. So we ask some lifestyle questions and a few other things. And as you ponder and really think about your responses, you can always go back and edit those if you need to moving forward. And then wherever the last status is of your application on May 31st, that's what we will use to process your housing assignment. So our assignment process is also really unique and exciting because it's fully random. So this really is a great opportunity for you to live with, meet someone who you might otherwise have never met in your entire life, who have lived completely different experiences than your own, and really be able to learn and grow from them as you are welcomed into the Duke community and kind of build your own identity at Duke. So your neighborhood and room assignments are completely random. Your roommates are also randomly assigned based upon your lifestyle preferences. So I mentioned them very briefly, but those are the questions that you're responding to in your application about Do you wake up early? Do you stay up late? Do you like to have a lot of visitors in your room? Are you more quiet and not as social in your living space? Do you like to keep a neat and tidy space? So those questions you'll respond to, and then we will work to match you with someone who has answered, if not the exact same as you, as similar to your responses as we possibly can. You can also indicate on your housing application if you prefer a single room or not. We really recommend all first year students to expect a double room assignment and a roommate. Um, so just to put this into context, we have about 300 single rooms for 1,700 of you, 1,700-ish of you. Um, so that's not great odds if you really have your heart set on a single room. So we really want first years to be excited about, welcome the idea of sharing your space with someone else so that you can really build that lifelong relationship with your roommate. Okay, so a few processes that support your housing experience that I want to talk in detail about. The first one being the accommodations process. So we have, it's not within Housing and Residence Life, but the university has the Student Disability and Access Office. So if you have a documented disability that has medical needs that, I'm sorry, I flipped my words there. If you have a documented medical need that rises to the level of a disability, then you can work with the Student Disability and Access Office to ensure that your housing meets your needs and helps best support whatever your medical needs may be. It's also the same office that you'll work with for any academic accommodations that you might need also in the classroom or testing, etc. So it's the same office. You can start that process on their website, which is here in the presentation. It's access.duke.edu. You can start that process online after you've matriculated at any point. You'll upload any medical documentation that you have to support your request, and then you're assigned a case manager. And that case manager will meet with you virtually to talk through everything that you might need. Um, Maybe you need a single room, maybe you need extended testing options. That same case manager will work with you on all of those options. So it's kind of a one-stop shop in that regard, but supports you so that you don't have to meet with lots of different folks to get what you need, both living on campus and in the classroom. But that is completely separate from housing and residence life. That's a completely different office. So you'll meet with them, and then through that process, if you do receive a housing accommodation, that is sent directly to us in housing assignments. You don't have to deliver that letter or do any of the kind of middle work there. They contact us directly, and then we make sure that your assignment meets your accommodations to the best of our ability. So, ideally, if this sounds like something that might be important to you, really trying to make sure you have started that process with student disability now so that you have an accommodation. If you receive one, it'll be processed and into our office before we process your application in June. So, really start that process now if that sounds important to you. Then the other process that we have to support you living on campus is our faith-based housing exceptions process. So if you have faith-based practices that may be better supported by a specific housing style or location, then you can request a faith-based housing exception. That process is separate from the housing application, but is managed by our office, and you can access it through the housing portal. So that form's already there. It does require a witness statement, so someone who can affirm that you have a sincerely held belief, sincerely held faith, and then also a written statement from you kind of outlining what your faith-based practices are that may be in conflict with our housing practice and housing policy. So that process is online through the housing portal. You'll complete the form and submit the documentation to support your request, and then you will meet with someone from our office virtually, and we'll have a conversation about what your needs are and what housing options might exist for you through that process. So both of these, if they sound like something that really will support your living experience, please start that process now. Again, the Student Disability and Access Office is separate from Housing and Residence Life, but the faith-based housing exceptions process is through our housing portal, and we manage that process within our office. All right. So that's all I have for housing. Dining is here and is going to be chatting with you as well. So I will stop sharing Maybe. There we go. I've stopped sharing, so I'm going to hand it over to Kirsten, who's here from Duke Dining, to present more about what dining experiences you will have on East Campus.
Hello and welcome everyone. I'm going to talk about your first year dining plan, and I'm just going to also share my screen here. Let's see. Sorry, it is not allowing me to share. Let's see. Okay, I think we got it. Excellent. Okay, sorry about that. Again, welcome. I'm going to start with just acknowledging on the screen that we have some contact info just to, if you want to jot it down, it'll be on each screen, so you don't have to worry about me going too fast. It has our website information. If you have any questions, feel free to email us or call us. And then we have our social media pages on there too, just because we post information throughout the year, throughout the summer, just to stay updated. Um, well, starting off with the first year dining plan, the first year dining plan, all first year students are automatically enrolled in the first year dining plan, which is known as Plan I. And this plan is really designed to enhance the undergraduate experience and foster a sense of community in dining together. Um, all of your meals, your 14 meals that are part of the board plan. Well, let me back up. I'm going to go to the next page. The way the first year dining plan works, it's divided into two parts. It's divided into the board plan and food points. So the board plan includes 14 all you care to eat meals each week. That includes 5 breakfast meals Monday through Friday, 7 dinner meals, and then 2 brunch meals. Again, so that's all for breakfast and dinner. They're all covered with your board plan. Any other meal period, which would be, lunch, snacks, beverages, all of those are covered by your food points. Your food points are made up of a certain dollar amount. The food points work as one food point equals $1, and it works as a declining debit card. So, for example, with the Plan I, the first year dining plan, you will have 1,023 food points each semester, which will be used towards any of those meals that are not included in the board plan. So, clear as mud? It's actually more difficult to explain it than it really is. You'll get it once when you start using your dining plan. But I have included a chart here which lays out the time periods for your breakfast meals, your dinner meals, and your brunch meals. Um, the board plan is utilized by what we call swipes. If you miss one of those meals that's included in your board plan, you do have an opportunity throughout the day to make up that. So you won't lose it. However, if you don't use it that day, then it does go away. So for example, if you look under the breakfast meal column, you'll see that Monday through Friday, if you miss a breakfast meal at Marketplace, which breakfast is available from 7:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. for the full all you care to eat breakfast, you can utilize that same meal, again, if you miss it, at the Skillet on West Campus, um, all the way till 2 o'clock p.m. You can also use it at Trinity Cafe, which is just down the stairs from Marketplace until 12:30 p.m., or you can use it for lunch at Marketplace if you're on East Campus. There is an equivalency amount that is applied. So when you're using those meals, in the equivalency form, you'll have $6.10. Anything that goes over that amount, your food points will automatically come into play to make up the difference. Same thing for your dinner meals. You'll have a couple of different options to make up for that dinner meal if you miss it at Marketplace. Now, there's a pretty wide time frame for dinner at Marketplace. It's 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. But again, you will have opportunities throughout the day, throughout the evening to make that up if you do miss it. And that equivalency amount is $11.80. You'll also receive 4 complimentary guest meals that can be used for each semester. Um, and then going back to lunch at Marketplace. So we don't have lunch on this chart because lunch, again, is where you'll use your food points. Breakfast and dinner at Marketplace is in an all-you-care-to-eat format, but lunch is in an a la carte format, so a little bit different. And then your brunch meals also are all you care to eat. I know it can be a little bit confusing, so feel free to ask questions. As far as the menu goes, because you are eating all of your breakfast and dinner meals at Marketplace, we have a wide variety of menus. There are multiple stations that are available, and they all kind of have their focus. Um, We have a dedicated vegetarian and vegan station. And a lot of the menus they are rotating just to keep things interesting and fun. And speaking of fun, if you look at the picture on the right, we do several themed dinner events, which are a lot of fun. And this one right here is a photo from our Around the World cruise dinner. It's one of the favorites where we theme out each station to a different country and serve like truly authentic menu items for that country. And a few of the other ones we do a Thanksgiving meal, which is also one of the favorites, and a fall festival too. So, speaking of food allergies and dietary restrictions, we have a very robust food allergy program here. It's called the Ask Me program, and it is, in fact, trademarked. All of our locations are participating in this, and it's just a way to ensure that you are dining in a safe environment, that you feel safe, you feel confident that your needs are going to be addressed. Um, Upon arriving, if you do have food allergies or special dietary needs, we do ask that you contact and connect with the Student Disability and Access Office just so that they can connect you with us and we can help with guided tours, again, or any questions that you might have regarding any of those items. Um, Something interesting too, so we offer a top 9 allergen-free standalone dining location, and that location and Marketplace and Trinity Cafe on East Campus, where you'll be having most of your meals, were recently Fair Check Platinum recognized, which means they are a top tier allergen-friendly and safety recognition university for by the Food Allergy and Research Education Association, which so you should feel very safe dining in these locations. We're the first in the country to achieve that, so pretty cool. We do have more dining locations. There are actually 33 on-campus dining locations. So again, when you're not having breakfast or dinner, any of those other meal periods or snacks or beverages can be used at any of these on-campus locations. They can also be used at our off-campus locations that deliver, which are called Merchants on Points. And then we have food trucks too. The food trucks primarily come in the evening. We do have one that is occasionally on campus for lunch though too. So again, another option. On West Campus, most of our first year students are headed over here for lunch to eat at the Broadhead Center, which is our main dining location on West Campus. We offer 14 locations in this building, and we also have what's called the Chef's Kitchen, which is on the second level. It's a culinary teaching space. So during the day for lunch, it serves as a pop-up restaurant, which changes every 4 to 6 weeks or so. But then in the evening, we offer cooking classes. No additional charge. That's all included with your plan. And those are a lot of fun. They fill up super quick. So you'll definitely want to make sure to follow us on social media because that's where you're going to get all of your sign up information and how to register. That'll also be on our website, but the quickest notification and all of your information will be on Instagram and Facebook. Um, just a few steps further down path, down the plaza, as we call it, is the Bryan Center. We have 4 locations in that building. And then we have several other locations throughout campus in the law school, Wilson Rec Center, the Divinity School, the engineering quad, all of those areas. We do have dining locations in there too. Um, let's see. What else? What else? What else? I think that's everything that I have for dining. You want to make sure to check the plans and points section on the Duke Dining website. That's going to have all of your dates and deadlines and when all of your break meal periods will start and end, when your meal plan will go into effect. All of that information will be included on the plans and points page.
Awesome. Thank you so much to both Kirsten and Krista for awesome presentations. I'm going to open it up now. We've been getting some great questions throughout the presentations, but if there are any lingering questions that y'all might have, now is your chance to ask. We'll go ahead and answer them live as they come in. So we have a question that says, are meals during break also covered by the dining plan?
Not during the break periods. No. Only during those times. And again, that schedule is listed not only on the first year dining plan contract, which you should already have, um, but it's also listed out on the website as well.
Awesome. Okay. We have another one. Does it change anything with room placement if you have food allergies?
It's a great question. In short, no. Unless you have an airborne allergy or something that is much more severe and you need a private living experience, then you would work with student disability to receive a housing accommodation for that. But in short, no. So on the housing application for those that have submitted it already, we ask what your allergens are so that dining is aware and they can plan meals appropriately and make sure that all allergens are able to be met in some capacity. Um, but your responses on that form have zero impact on your housing application. So only if you seek housing accommodations through student disability will it.
So, are the freshman dorm rooms air conditioned, or does the student need to bring like a portable AC unit?
Yeah, excellent question. So all of our buildings on East, West, Swift Quad have heating and cooling within the rooms. On East Campus, how that heating and cooling system works does vary from building to building. So you could have window units for your cooling and radiated heat for your heating, or it could all be central heating and cooling. And those details are on our website as well. So once you have your housing assignment in June, because everyone will apply by May 31st and get that assignment on June 10th. Once you have that, then you can go to our website and learn more about the details specific to the building that you're assigned to.
Awesome. Um, how how do the wait, how do the student and dining plan track if missing breakfast or dinner? So I guess how do we track that?
Yeah, you can always go to your Duke Card account first just to monitor your food points. But if you, it automatically makes up for it. So your plan is programmed on your card, so it knows when to use the swipe versus when to use the food points.
Awesome. Are there any instances or special circumstances in which roommates might change after assignments are out?
Sure. I mean, we encourage folks the moment you learn your roommate to start building that relationship, right? And sometimes as you start to learn someone else, you might already know, like, this is just not going to work for us. And that's okay. That happens. We can't get it perfect every time, though we try really hard. And so you can always reach out to us and we'll have those conversations. But you must really learn to get to know that person first. So, folks will instantly jump to social media and try and like scope out who this person is based upon how they present themselves through that social media identity. And that's great, but you still also have to have conversations with those individuals. Um, and then, if you have any questions or concerns, we can always have a conversation after.
Are there any recommendations or resources for folks who are coming from the West Coast?
That's an excellent question. I lived on the West Coast in Oregon for about 5 years. And whenever I chat with folks who are moving from the West Coast to here, I warn you over and over about the humidity. It's like nothing you have ever experienced. So I don't know that I necessarily have resources, but I have tips, I have thoughts. We have a yellow spring because it just rains pollen. So different things like that. It's just a very different climate and experience, but nonetheless, we're very excited to have you here and welcome you to North Carolina weather.
And kind of in that same vein, is it necessary to get like a storage unit or um, are students going to know, the dorm room sizes prior to arriving?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So I think storage room is really up to you because you know yourself best, right? If you have a lot of stuff and home is not near, like it, you will likely be traveling by plane, then maybe a storage room makes sense, right? But if you don't have a lot of stuff and you can just load things up into a few suitcases to leave for summer break or winter break, things like that, then I don't know that you would need one. But I think that's really kind of dependent upon you as an individual and how many things you have. And in terms of, Yana also asked about like room sizes and things like that. Our rooms across all of our campuses are very unique. The architecture is very unique and differs from building to building. So we don't have specific square footage that we can provide for every single room. And a lot of that goes to our history, right? So a lot of our Gothic quads on West Campus, for example, a lot of those spaces are very unique, even from one room to the one directly next to it. So we don't have those square footage um, details available for you. However, we really recommend you kind of wait to buy some of those bigger pieces for your room until you have seen it. So until you're on campus, and then you can also get a sense of what your roommate might have, and how you can work together to make that space both of yours at once. So we really recommend kind of waiting to see the space before you purchase any items that might be dependent upon how much room you have in the room.
Awesome. Speaking of dorms and what they look like or what they have, are there dorms that have kitchens where students can prepare their own food if they choose?
Yeah, that's a great question. So all of our uh, residence halls on East Campus and all of our quads on West have at least one communal kitchen within it. And that's a great space for folks to come together to cook, for programming from the RAs, etc. So you have communal kitchens that you can share with everyone else with that is within that community and kind of cook in that space.
Awesome. Um, do students get to choose a roommate for the years after their first year, or is it always random?
Yeah, so you can indicate preferred roommates on your applications for your sophomore, junior, and senior year. So that is certainly possible. And that can be anyone with that shares your quad connection. So I shared a little bit in my presentation about QuadX and how that works. And so if you are an Elspawn Brown, for example, you can indicate a preferred roommate on your application for your sophomore year that is someone who also lives in Elspawn Brown. You can't indicate a preferred roommate who's like across quad connections. That way, we really maintain that community and help build and develop it in your sophomore year on West.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna try to there's a few questions about shipping and shipping items. I guess what does that look like? Are people able to ship items to Duke? If they order from Amazon, can they get that shipped? What are your any tips and tricks for shipping to Duke prior to arrival?
Yeah, those are all great things, questions. So in June, you'll learn your assignment, and then in July, we'll send out a large communication that will have a lot of details regarding moving onto campus, including mailing and shipping and how that works. Um, so in short, you can ship items prior to arriving to Duke to move in. In that July communication, we will share specifics about the date you can start shipping things. It kind of changes every year, but usually it's a week or two out from that move-in date. So we will share all of that in that July communication. And in terms of like shipments via Amazon and other things like that, there are lock boxes. I think there's a fancy name for them, but I don't know it off the top of my head. I'm sorry. But there are kind of package boxes across East Campus. Whole Foods is right across the street from East Campus. And so some folks will have their items shipped there as an Amazon drop point and then go and pick up their items there, for example, their packages. But yes, all the mailing details that you need will come to you in July.
Awesome. And then switching gears a little bit. So, for dining, like swipes, is there a physical card that students use, or can they use their phone? What does that process look like?
There is you can use your card if you'd like, but you can also attach your phone, your card, your Duke card to your phone. And if you want to use it for mobile, it's all taken care of through the Transact mobile app. Very seamless and easy process, and that seems to be what most prefer to do.
Awesome. Um, okay. If food points can be used to buy off-campus meals, can we also use them to buy groceries at Whole Foods, or is that a separate process?
Yeah, that is not included with the dining plan. So you can use your food points for on-campus Duke dining specific locations, which again, there are 33 locations on campus. Specific off-campus restaurants that deliver, which is called our Merchants on Points. And that full list is also on the Duke Dining website. And then the food trucks that come to campus as well, but not for groceries, unfortunately, off at Whole Foods.
So, okay. And I know you talked a little bit about this already, Krista, but we have a question about, how are you assigned to a specific dorm? Is there a Spark Note version?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks. So the beauty of the first year process is when I say it's random, like it's truly random. So everyone applies for housing, they respond to those lifestyle questions, and we do our best to match a roommate first and foremost, and then find spaces and get you assigned randomly somewhere on East Campus. So there's not really a lot of uh, there's not like a specific flow chart of like this is how it happens. It really is random and it's an exciting process to that I get to be a part of and kind of see the outcome of.
Yeah. How does preferred gender selection of roommates, floor mates, and availability of gender neutral bathrooms work?
Yeah, excellent question. So we ask students what their preferred gender is on their housing application, and then we ask other questions like, would you be a good roommate to who's someone who is non-binary, queer, etc. And then we also ask questions like, do you prefer a roommate of a similar gender or not? So everyone can kind of guide their own path in that way. And then based upon the preferences that you have outlined on your application, we make roommate pairings based upon that. So if you indicate that you do want someone of a similar gender, then we will assign someone as a roommate who has a similar gender to yourself with the best possible lifestyle preference matches that we possibly can. Um, and there was oh, the gender neutral bathrooms. I was like, there was another part to this. Yeah, so we ask if having access to an all gender restroom is important for you on the housing application. And all of our buildings, all of our buildings on East Campus have at least one bathroom that is all gender use. So anyone of any gender can use that space. However, if you indicate yes to that question on the application, then we try and get you assigned closer to that when we can. Um, and in some of our buildings, there's more than one also. So we just try and make sure that your assignment is on the same floor as or near to an all gender restroom.
Um, okay. Are there music spaces or practice rooms in the dorms that are available for students to use?
Yeah, there are a few kind of across East Campus. So even if there isn't one directly in the building that you're assigned to, you have access during the day to the other buildings on East where you could utilize those spaces.
Awesome. And then we have a question about what does a typical move-in day look like? I don't know if you all want, I'm happy to jump in for this. So our office, New Student and Family Programs, works in conjunction with housing and lots of other campus partners to put on a really exciting move-in day. There are a lot of logistics involved, and you'll get lots of emails and notifications about how everything works. But our orientation leaders actually help move you into the dorms, and so you'll pull your parent will pull your car up, or you'll pull your car up. Um, You'll pop that trunk open, and our student leaders will come empty out your car for you, take everything to your dorm room, and then get you settled in. So it's a really fun and exciting day. And like I said, lots of logistic information that will all come via email and in a future webinar. So don't worry too much about that yet. Um, and then back to housing questions. So, um, do students have their own refrigerators within the dorms?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we recommend students rent micro fridges in conjunction with their roommate. And so that is all rented online through Duke stores. And so when you rent that micro fridge, you have a refrigerator with a freezer on top and then a microwave on top of that. And so it's nice and compact while still having enough space in the refrigerator and freezer for your items. But it's compact enough to really fit in all of our residence halls really well. But if that's not really something that you want, then you can always bring your own personal refrigerator. But we do not furnish the rooms with them. That's something you need to seek on your own.
Awesome, thank you. How is this housing assignment process different for those in a focus cluster versus constellations or others?
Yeah, that's great. So if you are in a constellation, then you that has no impact on your housing assignment. If you are in a focus cluster, then that does have impact on your assignment. So focus clusters, I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head and my mind is blanking. But if you are assigned to a focus cluster, then every member of that specific cluster is assigned to the same building, but you will not have a roommate that's in the same cluster as you. So we really intentionally, tr since you will have that cohort of folks really close knit already with the courses that you're taking, um, both from your fall to spring semester. We want to make sure you're also building connections outside of that cohort. And so the way we do that is by ensuring your roommate is not a member of the same cluster that you are a member of. Excellent questions.
Okay. So I think we'll have time for a couple more questions. Um, some logistical questions. Let's see. Okay, we have two questions about um bathrooms in dorms.
Yeah, I
And
can just talk
then
about it in general.
okay, perfect.
Yeah. So we have single-use restrooms throughout the buildings, along with all gender restrooms throughout the buildings. Not every floor offers all three bathroom options, meaning men, women, and all gender. So you may be assigned to a floor, and the closest bathroom of your preference could be upstairs or downstairs, and not necessarily on the same floor that you're assigned to. Um, and we do not have a space that is all one gender or all non-binary or queer, etc. We have an all-gender housing model, which means anyone of any gender can live anywhere. And we do not have spaces that are strictly for one gender or strictly for queer folks, etc. It's all gender. So your neighbors could be of a different gender than yourself. There is a spot on the application to indicate if you prefer similar gendered neighbors, and that is a preference. It's not a guarantee. And so if that's the case, we do try and get some folks of similar genders near one another on a floor, but it's not corridored. Like folks can walk and move freely throughout the building, regardless of what their gender is, and be assigned throughout the building, regardless of what their gender is. So bathrooms, room assignments, etc., all gender housing model within one building.
Awesome. Thank you. Um, how can how can we tell when a profile request submitted through the housing portal will be or is addressed?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So, some of you have been able to submit a request about your profile, and some of them are like, I really want to use this personal email instead of my Duke email, things like that. And so we are slowly working through responding to those requests, but I promise you will have a response to us usually within a week or two after you have submitted it. I will be completely transparent in that we just finished closing um, a week ago, and so we really are now shifting our focus to really engaging with our first year class. So if you submitted your request on like May 1st, for example, and haven't heard from us yet, I promise you will hear from us this week, and we will get those responses to you.
Awesome. Um, okay, so some more a kind of logistic question. So are all of the beds on risers and what is the typical size for the bed itself in a dorm?
Yeah, that's a great question. Almost all of our beds are twin XL, but there are a very small number of beds that are not twin XL on East Campus. So again, once you receive your housing assignment, you can go to our website and see all the specific amenities, including heating and cooling, mattress size, etc., for the building that you've been assigned to. And no, none of the beds are on risers. Many of them are lofted, like junior lofted. But if you want a riser, that's something you would provide on your own. So depending on what your definition meaning is there, majority of the beds are lofted. You can change the height of your mattress on the bed frame that we provide you. You can lower or raise the bed to a more lofted or less lofted state, but there are not bed risers that we provide.
Awesome. Um, all right, I think we can do maybe two more questions. So the dorms in general are they co-ed? What is that, I guess, entail? Are they separated by floor? Could you give some more information about that?
Yeah, sorry, it's not clear yet. So it's all gender housing models. So anyone of any gender can live on any floor. Um, so there's not a specific men's building, women's building, etc. All gender housing on all of our floors in all of our buildings on East, West, and Swift.
Okay. Um, is there somewhere where students, families can find what is provided in the rooms?
Yeah, absolutely. We list that in detail on our website, but I can also in general tell you that every room you'll ever move into on campus will be furnished with a bed, a closet or wardrobe, depending on the layout of your room, a desk, a task chair, a set of drawers, and then usually a bookshelf of some kind as well. And some of the buildings, those questions are great. And once you have your assignment, we can answer them in much more detail because some of our buildings, like Gilbert Adams, for example, have these beautiful built-in like dressers and bookshelves, etc., that are much bigger shelving than you might get in Randolph, for example. So happy to answer and talk through a lot more of those details once you have your assignment.
I think that goes kind of hand in hand with the next question. Are there dedicated storage rooms where students can keep suitcases, or should they expect, to use some of those built-in storage?
Yeah.
spaces.
Yeah, so any item you bring, you're responsible for storing. So we do not have rooms that you can put things for a while that you might only need sometimes. We just don't have the space to offer that. So anything that you move in with is your responsibility to store in some capacity within your space.
All right, I think we have one last question here. And I think you touched on this a little bit as well, but is it possible to have a roommate who is from a different school? So if a student's in Trinity, could they have a roommate who's in Pratt or in different constellation or focus clusters?
Yes, absolutely. So our roommate practice or assignment practice does not take any academic affiliation into account. So the only time we pay attention is to make sure that you don't have a roommate of the same focus cluster if you are the member of a focus cluster. Otherwise, your roommate could be from any school, any constellation, or any other focus cluster.
Awesome. Well, thank you all again for joining us today. Thank you to our awesome presenters for their presentations as well as answering all of the wonderful questions today. Like we mentioned in the beginning of today's webinar, this session was recorded and it will be available to review. Um, Give us a few days to get it, downloaded, transcribed, the whole 9 yards. But once it's uploaded, the link will be on our website. Um, it'll also live on YouTube. So um, we'll have that to look forward to. And I want to give our presenters a quick chance if there's any last minute things that they want to add. That would be a good time.
I have one thing. Earlier, the question was presented asking if the dining plan can be used during the break periods. And my answer to that was no, but I wanted to clarify a little bit more. Your board plan, remember the first year dining plan is split up into two parts. So the board plan is the part where that covers your breakfast and dinner meals at Marketplace. The board plan is not able to be used during the break periods, but your food points, which is the other part of the plan, are able to be used during those break periods. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Thanks. And I just wanted to jump in and say I really appreciate everyone who's made it through this far. If you have any housing questions, you can email us at housing@duke.edu. We really prefer from your Duke email address. That way we can really quickly know who you are and gain some context to your questions when you reach out to us. But email us anytime, housing@duke.edu. That'll be the most efficient and quickest way to get any questions you might have answered and responded to.
Awesome. So I hope that you all will join us next week for our next summer transition series webinar. It's going to be with the Pratt advising team. So join us May 26th, 4 p.m. Eastern time, same place, same time. And we hope to see you all there. Have a wonderful rest of your day, night, morning, whatever time it might be for you.